comedy, improviser, voice actor, and marketer. You and your partner of 20 years, Eli, run Fable and Folly Productions and a network which produces the award-winning Alba Salix Royal Physician, The Axe and Crown. You also produce Civilized and The End of Time and Other Bothers. I'm looking forward to checking those out too. We were just talking about earlier. I was working in the yard and just was turned on to this all of Sean's shows, and I was totally hooked on them completely. So and I'm not saying that to blow smoke up your butt or try and kiss your ass.
It's hard to do over the Ethernet.
But I really like the Axe and Crown, which I listened to with my 3-year-old, who doesn't really, but she was laughing and stuff too because of the noises and stuff. But it was fun.
Cool.
What I did appreciate was the beginning of every show. You had something nice to say about what's going on right now, which I thought was fantastic. It's like, wow, that's great. Even the older shows, because I was listening to the older ones, and then
that's an ad insert. I'm inserting that.
Right, and then I saw that you're with Art 19.
Yeah.
Who is an Oakland company. They're here in Oakland, and we know them. They come to our meetups, which is fantastic. It all comes around.
They're amazing.
It all comes around. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they are. It seems like they're really picking up with a lot of good shows now too. I also noticed that your websites are fantastic. The information and resources on there are really great. People should go and check it out. I joined as a patron because I wanted to see what you were doing, and it's very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you're doing. And then I have a bunch of questions, but I'm not going to ask them now. I'm going to end them at the end because people sent me some questions too for you. And so let's get started, Sean. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the applause. Can you hear it? There's no applause, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sure they're all applauding. And here we go. Boom.
Help me too.
Oh, you're cutting in and out. I can't hear you. Can other people hear you? Oh man, we made it all that way, and now there's technical difficulties. Ah, there you go.
Okay.
There you are. You're back.
Sweet, I'm back.
All right.
So yeah, you should stick around, Mike, and you can let me know if people have interjections. Please don't be afraid to interrupt me.
So I'll just pop them right up on the screen. If people put in questions, I'll just pop them right up.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm going to be talking about the road to quitting our day jobs with Patreon for audio. This is my lens is audio fiction. Yeah, I think I may have unplugged a cord there. So my lens is audio fiction, but I think this applies to everyone. So I've given this talk a lot of time. This is actually a talk from Podcast Movement that I've updated. These are my shows. I don't need to spend any more time on them. Let's talk about Oakland. So my sister is angry at me because she lives in, well, she says Berkeley, but she actually lives in Oakland. But we get in a lot of fights over it. And some of my favorite places are where all of you are. I'm up here in Canada, and there is there's no good bread in Canada. There's no good bakeries. So Firebrand is one of my favorites. I have yet to have pizza from Arizmendi, but everyone always tells me about it when I come and visit. And of course, the Berkeley Bowl, technically Berkeley, but I think it's the greatest place on the planet. So you guys are lucky. All right, so let's talk about a myth. One of the myths is that small creators, small podcasters can't make money on Patreon. It is a myth. But what I'm hoping you're going to take away today is that making money on Patreon is an insane amount of work, and it takes time. Okay. Here is my first almost 2 years on Patreon. That little blue line down there, I don't know if you can see my cursor, that little blue line down there, that was our income. And the little reds is somebody leaving. And when I do consulting with other podcasters, this is a common thing, right? It can be hard to get started. But back in August of 2017, I came across this list of the top earning podcasts on Patreon. I think a lot of us have gone and found lists like these, and I saw people are making $100,000 a month back then. So I think I pulled this list in December 2018 because I didn't screenshot it back then. So there are show after show after show, and then I found shows that were like mine, and I saw what they were making. And I was like, okay, clearly there's a path, there's a way to do this, but what is it? So the truth is there's a lack of resources for small creators, okay? There are so many articles, and I hate to call it out here, but even a lot of the ones put out by Patreon that are really designed to speak to people that are making 1,000 or 2,000 a month and up, because that's where Patreon starts to make its money, and that's what they need to survive. There's not a lot of resources out there that are actually going to tell you the truth about how to get from 0 to 1,000. So I decided to open source our data as we started on this journey, hoping that I would make it. We're not there yet, but we're close now. So basically, back in 2018, we started our Patreon growth experiment. You guys can search for this. It's on Medium. All of the data is available. I literally post screenshots of our data, of our growth, of our experiments, what's working, what's not working. It's all there, and you can take a look. So I should probably update. This is an older, but anyways, this is as of August 2019. We're actually now up just over 700, 750 a month, something like that. We'll see another slideshow in a minute. I'll show that. So the journey from that line across the bottom to really where we are today and climbing, it is possible. And I'm going to take you through the key things I learned that worked. But please, if you guys have a question or you can't hear me, I cut out again, just post a question so Mike or myself can answer it. All right. So I want to talk to you about numbers. One of the things is it can be really hard to build your Patreon if your listener numbers are really low. Okay. So I've seen and been working with people who they're doing everything right. They're putting out tons of content. They're communicating correctly with their patrons, and they're not getting the results. And sometimes it's because they just don't have the reach yet in their podcast. And then what we do is we switch to building their reach, which is a separate presentation. But that's also possible. We can build our numbers. So just to give you an idea, this is per episode. Hopefully everyone here listening nowadays knows what their 30-day number is per episode. This is not what is 30 days of downloads in total. This is if you drop an episode tomorrow, how many downloads will that episode have at the 30-day mark? And it's a good number for you to know because it also relates to some of how you can sell advertising. So one of our biggest shows that we were working off, Alva, had 3,500 downloads per episode at the 30-day mark when we sort of started in 2017 up this August or December, moving up this line. At the top, we have 10,000 in 30 days per episode. So not trying to brag, just trying to say, because there's people with much bigger than that, but just so you can see there's a relationship between your listener reach and what you're going to be able to generate on Patreon. So if your episode is at 250 or 1,000 in 30 days per episode, you can still make some money, but just be aware it's going to be a slow climb while you build that reach. All right. First things first. We have to acknowledge that we are worth making money. We are worth people paying us money. And it sounds silly to say, but time and again, I find that this is one of the biggest stumbling blocks. Being comfortable and confident that we have a right to ask to be paid for what we do. And we deserve it, right? Everyone on this here, everyone listening as a podcast, you are all putting in a lot of work into your podcast, and you are working hard to create this content, and you are putting it out in the world, sometimes to the detriment of sleep, relationships, eating properly, or exercising ever. That's my problem. I just sit at my desk. So you deserve being paid. The key to that is to figure out, what does success look like? I find not enough people that start down the path of trying to make money off their podcast have actually stepped back and done this first step, which is, what does this look like? What are we building here? How will we know when we're on the right track? So I hate to say it, but we all have to build a business plan. Now, some of you are business bloggers, so I hope you all you're jumping up and down, like, yeah, I've got a 17-page business plan. Some of you that might be more creative might be like, oh, a business plan. But it's really important to go through the steps and think of who are we trying to reach and what are the different ways, Patreon's one of them, that we can make money. So I come from innovation, so I tend to use what we call a canvas. The lean canvas is the one on the left, or the business model canvas on the right. These are free tools that you can, that's it. This is the business plan. You put this in a PowerPoint or a Google slide, and you just put in some stickies. Here's mine. And you have a business plan. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but it's a plan. It's there. It's good enough that you can start to then build, because it's going to help you understand what is important. I got a question coming in, so I'll wait for Mike to throw that up. Go ahead, Mike. I release Christmas passed. I release episodes all year long. There's no getting around the seasonal spike in interest. In April, I may get 2K. In November, something like this. Awesome. Yes. So that's a great question. I would say, I forget your name. Was it Mike? I forget the name. Christmas Fest. I'll just call you CP. Brian. Thank you, Mike. So Brian, yes, this will impact you, but less than you think. What this is going to say to me is that you're going to run a special every year around starting in October, right? That's when you're going to do your big push, is in October, right? Maybe September, but probably October, you're going to start your push, and you're going to drive it all the way through to January. And think of it like an annual drive. We do an annual drive at Alba across our shows, usually in December. So you would get even more out of that, because you'll see this big burst of interest and speed. And then the idea of doing the drive is that you're going to be able to talk about, and you'll be releasing in your feed, all the things that everyone else has been getting for the rest of the year. And it's just a way to tease and tantalize and be like, hey, sign up now. You're going to get this stuff, and be ready. But yeah, fluctuating is a good question. Okay. Here's the thing we have to talk about. Who sets the value? I think I have a lot of business savvy people here, so hopefully you're all shouting the customer. This is the thing I did not understand here. This whole thing where I was just making no money. It was me. I was the problem. I was looking at people like giving $1 or $2, and look, I'm making what, $20 a month? I'm like, what do you want from me? What do you want from me for $20 a month? I got a job. I'm trying to put out these crazy podcasts with full casts. I'm losing. I don't have any money. Like, what do you want me to do for $20? Like, basically F you. I don't have time for Patreon. Because it's just $20. But that's the wrong way to look at it. I have to look at it from their point of view. What is the value of $2 or $5 to the person giving? If I want to be, or if any of us want to be, a $2,000 a month Patreon user, Patreon creator, we have to start acting like a $2,000 a month Patreon creator now. And I'll tell you something right now. People making $2,000 or $10,000 a month, they value $5 donations a lot more than we do when we start, right? So we have to start to look at it differently. We have to start to think about it from their point of view. Okay, so what is $5 a month? Well, I think Netflix has changed its pricing now, but it's basically half of Netflix, right? So these people are paying $10 for Netflix, and they get thousands of movies and TV shows at their fingertips. Never one that you want to watch, but they're all there, right? Luminary, I think they've halved their pricing now. This is an older presentation, but $8 a month, 40 original shows. I got 2. And what am I giving away for my $5 users? I was giving some production notes once in a while when I remembered. I was like, oh, here's some production notes. Woo, yay. Okay. So I have to start to think about, what does it mean when somebody gives me $5 a month every month? Like, I don't know about all of you, but I get tons of like mail from not-for-profits and great causes constantly trying to me to do what a monthly give, right? And sorry, you're going to hear people in the background. And I never want to give a monthly give, right? I'm like, no, I'll just give you money when I want to give you. Sorry, hold on. So I never want to give a month. So I had to rethink, what does $5 a month mean? And I had to think about it from their perspective. So here's what I was doing before. I was basically doing nothing. Every month or so, I would put up a post or some content. That was it. Today, what we do, some might say is insane, but this is what we do, and this is how we grade that curve, and we're continuing to grow. We are very active in social. We release an exclusive piece of content every Friday to our patrons. Every Friday. And it could be like a full mini episode. It could be something like a ringtone that they've never heard that they can put on their phone. It can be a video of something really fun to watch. But there is something every Friday, and then I promote it to our patrons every Friday, and I say thank you, and here it is. And then monthly, I'm pushing out exclusive shows and bonus scenes as often as I can. And then twice a year, I'm putting out a mystery package for people at a certain tier. They get something in the mail, something physical. So that was a big change from where I was. Now, I didn't do that all at once. And I don't recommend you go straight from the left column to the right column, but I just want you to see this at the right is sort of what's required. And I didn't make it up. I went and found someone that was making 5 times what I want to make a month on Patreon, and I subscribed to them and I gave them money, just like Mike was talking about he did. And then I paid attention. What are they doing? And I was amazed at how much content and how much communication they were sending to me for my $5. And it made me realize I had the math wrong about valuing it. So there you go. Your job, if you want to get big on Patreon, is go find 3 creators you admire who are earning what you want to earn or more and give them money. Think of it as a business investment, and see what you get. What do they do? How do they value that money? And it'll give you insight into what's required, the level of work that's required to build a crowdfunding platform that continues to sustain you, even through a period like this. Thank you, Pamela. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. I'm like, why can't I click? Okay. Tiers. So Patreon is about tiers, right? So you have people can set up, you want $5, you get this. You give us $10, you get this. You give us $50 a month, you get this thing. So how do you set your tiers? It's one of the biggest mistakes. Now, before I get into this whole list of things, the number one advice that will be given on the internet is wrong. You will see everyone in every forum talking to each other about, don't overcommit on your tiers. Everybody says it. They're like, don't overcommit on your tiers. And they're right? You don't want to commit so much you can't deliver. But that is the wrong mindset. That's that old mindset. You have to over-deliver on value. So just keep that in mind. You got to look at what other people are doing and you'll see what's required. Okay. Clicking on the wrong screen. All right, build a list of perks. So what I do is and I still use this to this day. If I'm launching a new show, I create a list of potential perks. I just keep a piece of paper going. I steal everything from everyone else. Like, why create something new? I just look at what everyone else is doing and I say, well, that's cool. That wouldn't be so hard. Or, I could do that if I integrated it into the way I record my show and just put it in my, my recording notes for the day. And I sort of keep that list going. And then you pick the one tier you want to work on. For a lot of us, it's our $5 tier, right? Or for some of us, it might be our $10 tier. You pick the tier that you're not getting subscriptions at. So if you have a $2 and a $5 and a $10, and most people are giving on your $2, every once in a while someone gives on your $5, then we're just going to start on your $5. Leave your $2 alone. Don't add anything to it. It's working. We're going to see how many people we can get to join at $5, and then how many people are going to upgrade to $5. That's going to tell you you've nailed it. Okay? And then you just keep experimenting on that $5 tier till you find out the change that works. Okay? And then you move on to another tier and you never add anything back to that $5 tier. Don't keep adding. I see so many people do this. They're like, oh, it worked. Now let's get them another thing. I'm like, no, that's it. Like, it works. That's going to work for you now. Like, why add more production to your life? Okay. Okay, perks that do not drive growth. I hate to ruin it. This was a really funny McElroy video, but it's not playing because I'm in a PDF. Okay, I hate to say it, guys. These don't work. They're easy to do. They tend to not work. You can add them, throw them in, but they're not going to drive people to move up a tier. Bloopers, scripts, even if they're signed, production notes, they're fine. I'll look at. I don't even look at production notes, and I'm a producer. Written short stories that build off the show, they don't tend to work. Versions of your already free to listen to show in higher quality. I've never understood this one. Are there any of us out there listening to a podcast going, oh, this would be so much better if it was 256 kilobits per second? Or whatever. No, doesn't work. Removing ads doesn't really work as a bonus to upgrade, but it is a nice perk to give to your patrons to be like, hey, you're already supporting me. You don't have to listen to ads. But a lot of people won't sign up, or they certainly won't raise a tier for it. They'll just hit skip. Okay, so what does work? Worked with a lot of different creators, and these are the things that works. Bonus episodes, things you cannot get otherwise. Okay, let's say you're bringing in a big name guest. Okay, and you're doing an interview show, or you're getting access to a guest that's you're like, this is so fun and so amazing. Basically, do two episodes. Break your interview into two parts, and make one your normal show, and then do a special thing. Right? Maybe they tell a story that's really funny, or you explore a different angle of the story you're exploring. That goes out to your patrons only. That works. Figuring out how to do it and what works is just the spice on the cake. Okay? Exclusive experiences. Play a game with your cast. Actually works. Even with talk shows, right? It's crazy, but it works. Like having a Jackbox game night. It's so easy to stream Jackbox games and play it with your fans. Anybody? I don't know if anybody's, I'm asking like you could talk back. Like, I don't know if anyone else has done that. It's a great thing to do during this lockdown is to reach out to your fans and offer things like that. But you can also put that on a tier, right? Hang with us once a month and play a Jackbox game. You just use Zoom or whatever. Live access, being able to listen in live or watch the live stream, that works. Exclusive merchandise works, but just keep in mind merchandise can be challenging, right? It's challenging to figure it out, deliver it, get it out the door without losing your shirt. So it can work, but just really watch your margins. Okay, moving fast. Sorry, guys, I get going fast. I don't know why. I guess it's my improv past. Okay, can you suggest some tiers for me? Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot, Pamela. I love it. Okay, my podcast says, let's hack affordable housing. Connect people to truly affording curated solutions and opportunities to help them reduce their monthly housing cost. Okay, so you have a podcast where you're helping people get to opportunities to reduce their monthly housing cost. Yes. We're without. No, that's not boring, Pamela. It's not boring at all. Dear God, I don't think there's anything more important right now than housing. Certainly in the situation we're going in. So you could easily do the thing where you bring on a guest. I'll get to it. That's a great question, Blythe. I'll get to it. Think about the things that are going to be of interest to your audience that you could capture in your production process. Okay? So I don't know the format exactly of your show, but if you're doing an interview and it's like a really amazing interview, you can release the edited version, right? As just normal, but then you could release a thing like you would then tell your, like on the edited version, you'd be like, hey everyone, we had to cut this interview down to 30 minutes to fit our format. But oh my Lord, what Jeremy just shared today changed the way I think about X. And I'm releasing the full episode on my Patreon to my $5 tier tomorrow night. Boom. Anything you can work in that's exclusive access. You could have, you could consolidate all of your tips over the past year into a PDF in an easy read format that you're giving away on your Patreon to all your patrons. Those are some examples. Blythe asks, are multiple tiers necessary? No. I don't know if you want more than that. If you are not going to use multiple tiers, you maybe don't want to choose Patreon. There are a lot of platforms now, like Glow, that have solved some issues that drive me insane on Patreon. Where Patreon excels is in the idea of fan management, this idea of patron management, this idea that you can create a community space and you can email them and own those emails. That's what makes it really powerful. Some of the other platforms don't actually give you the tools to communicate with everyone. They're more like people pay, they get access to the podcast bonus series. Like it gives them basically a private RSS feed that then you just upload exclusive content to. And there are some shows making good money just doing a single $10 to join or $5 to join the exclusive, right? You get the other episodes everyone else doesn't get to hear. Patreon, though, does allow you to come up with some really creative ideas for higher dollar tiers. And I wish Scoot could talk because he's done a great job of it with Sleep With Me. That's a Patreon to check out, by the way. But no, you don't need multiple tiers. Okay, this is the missing Patreon dashboard. So I got so frustrated with Patreon. I really love Patreon. I don't think they like me because I just constantly crabbing. But I basically I built this dashboard in Google Sheets. You can all use it. If you have a Patreon and you're like, hey, I'm not sure how well my Patreon's working, you can actually use this. Just go to fableandfolly.com/dashboard. There's some instructions on a tab. Start here. And you can actually upload your Patreon data. You can make a copy of this, so I don't see your data, in your own Google Drive. And you can upload your data and get real stats that matter for you to help understand basically your fans, your patrons as a business would, like what's working here. And I'm going to take you through some parts of this, but really what it's going to show you is some key things Patreon will not tell you around how long your patrons stay with you, lifetime. That's important to understand churn, to understand lifetime value of a patron. And it's also going to help you understand what's working. So I'm going to take you through part of that now. Okay, so I've just taken one of the slides that was on there and expanded it just to show you. This is I call it my Patreon tier growth over time. And it's basically one of the most powerful tools that I've used to help understand where the strategy is working. So earlier, I took you through like the 5 steps of how you can go through the tiers. Like basically start with the $5 tier, add something to it, wait to see if it works. How do you know if it works? So looking at this chart is how you can tell if it's working. Okay. So I will take you through that. So in the first red line is where I basically launched early access to episodes. Early access is one of the easiest to offer benefits. And it's basically just means you launch your show 3 days early to your fans. I usually put that in the lowest tier, and sometimes that's all you have to add in your lowest tier. Patreon makes it really easy to do this. You can upload an audio feed that just goes out to everyone's podcast apps 3 days early. And you'll see that on that first whatever, my brown or gray, what is this? The second tier just slowly grows over time, just with that one perk. But I then was like, okay, that's working. Now what do I do? So then at this stage, I decided to offer deleted scenes and bloopers. Now you'll note some of you will recognize before I said, hey, those don't work. They don't. You can see, look, there's really no change to the blue here. Everyone's like, yeah, okay. I think one person said, nah, maybe, but not really. It just sort of stayed the same all through here. So I was like, oh, well, that sucks because bloopers are just easy to create. So around July, I said, okay, fine. I didn't even have it yet. I got in trouble, actually. I didn't even talk to my partner. I just said, exclusive show launching in a month. I had an idea, but I hadn't gotten approval. Anyways, it went crazy. Like my Patreon, look at this. The blue just started to expand. Like the blue was just like boom, 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 boom. And then took us 2 months, but we launched an exclusive show intermittently to Patreon. And it just started to grow. And so that worked. So that's how I knew that, oh, okay. So at that point, I stopped putting money I stopped putting anything into my $5 tier. It's working. So what did I do next? I started working on the purple, the $10. So in around October, we launched the mystery package. Twice a year, you'll get something in the mail for $10 a month, but you have to stay with us for 6 months. So it's $60 I've made US. I'm in Canada, so that's like 300. No, it's like $90. So I then basically try and keep my packages to under $7, and then add shipping. And that's how I'm doing that. So then the mystery package worked decent. The purple started to grow a little. And so that's basically, this graph is a really great tool to help you understand what's causing your growth, because Patreon doesn't really tell you that, right? You just see, oh, I got a 2, I got a 5 today. I think I got more 10s. So this will let you really look at your data and say, oh, whatever I did is really growing my $5 tier now. And that's important, because the difference between a $2 giver and a $5 tier is a $5 giver. If you can move more of your people up to $5, the change is quite strong, right? If I have time, or Mike has questions, I can show you the dashboard, the live one on the computer, and show you how those numbers impact the money you make. Okay, promoting the perks. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but there's a problem with Patreon. A good portion, may even be the majority of people, don't ever get your messages when you post them. Great question, Pamela. I'll come back to that. So when you create a post on Patreon, you like spend all this time, you craft it, you put in the secret content you're going to deliver, and you hit publish. Patreon is supposed to email everyone and notify them in the app. A lot of people have turned off notifications from Patreon. It's sort of, the benefit of Patreon was that there's this community of people where it's easy to give. The downside of Patreon is that a lot of people are tired of getting messages they don't want. So a lot of people, they may want your message, but they've turned off all messages because they became annoying. So there's a bit of a problem there, which I can talk about. But promoting the perks. Hopefully everyone here knows about Headliner now. It's a great way to do the bonus exclusives. I'll come back to the mystery package question. So first of all, if you launch a bonus scene and it's your first one, you put the first one out for free on your public feed, but you put a preamble on it and you're like, hey, we're launching a really cool thing. It's now going to be available to patrons from here on out, but I'm going to play the first one for all of you today because it's so awesome. And then at the end, you have a thing, hey, everyone, remember, you can sign up and access this show and this exclusive content every month by going here to our Patreon. And Headliner lets you basically also create something you can send out in social. So even the ones that are only in Patreon, I'll share a minute of it with an audiogram, right? You can see it, you can play it as a video. It shows it's moving. And I spend time to put the text in so people can, because nobody turns on the audio, right? Basically, you do those for free on Headliner, and they're a great way to promote and let everyone know, oh, I'm putting out some really cool bonus scene, and you can hear a bit of it. And I find that'll often get people to come over and click and subscribe. What's in a mystery package? Asked Pamela. Well, first of all, as we approach mystery package day, it becomes like a bit of a stress event for me. We have done a variety of things. I'll often do some kind of sticker. So I'll get a new sticker made. So my total cost per sticker, because I'll make some others for doing other things with, but I'm under $1 or under 70 cents a sticker. I'll do stickers. I've done cards. The best one we ever did was what do you call it? Where you put your beer on it? I don't know what that's called, but you put your beer on it to not ruin the table. Coaster. Oh, Mike's coming in. I got it, Mike. I saved it.
I was ready here to save you.
I saved it. Thanks, Mike. So we did coasters. We'll often put in a personal message. We have these little cards that we've made. We hand print them sometimes. So basically just put in, sometimes it's a message and a couple little things. I one time tried to send pins, like, you make a pin to put on your shirt, round. but those are hard to mail. You can get hit or returns if they're too thick, but stuff like that. Anything I can do I'm trying to keep under $7 a package, and then of course there's postage on top of that. And some of your people are going to be international, so I find it works out. The majority are US, and then we have a few. Good question, thank you. I had no idea what was going to be in it when I first announced it. I was just like, yeah, let's try this. Okay, another problem on Patreon. I do like Patreon. Anyways, one of the problems on Patreon is it's really hard for people to know what they get access to. So one of the things I had done was I had gone and created a page on my site for supporters. So when you go to my supporter page, it's like, here's how you support. But then I was like, oh, and at the $5 level, you get this. And I put links to some of the public things we've released. So it's key when you're thinking of promoting the content you put behind the paywall that every year you release a few tastes of it, right? And we do that every year. We do a big drive up to December. I was talking about with the Christmas show. We do a big drive in our public feeds because where do we have the most reach as podcasters? It's not on social. Often it's in our podcast feeds, right? That's where our people are listening. We're in their ears. So every year I'll have a big push on Patreon and I'll drop some things that I've made available to everyone else 7 months ago. I don't put it all out, but I put a few. And then I can link to those on the supporter page. But Girl in Space, Sarah Rhea Warner, really took my idea and just did it way better. So I don't think I have the whole thing here, but you can check out her supporter page, and it's just beautifully designed, and it really shows how she's pushing to support me, but she gives examples and links to all the kinds of content you can get at each tier. And I find that really can help. I'm clicking on the wrong screen. Yeah, see, here's mine. Look, here's Sarah Rhea Warner's, and here's mine. Who's the designer and who's the marketing geek? Yeah. Okay, understanding churn. Okay, I don't know about anybody else here. I don't know how many of you are on Patreon. If any of you are, I hate this icon. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Does anybody else hate it? Does anybody? Scoot, I don't know if you're still there. It gives me anxiety to see that pop up. Mike, what happened? Do you have yours? No, wait for Mike to turn on.
I do not have. What do you mean? Do I have mine?
Are you on Patreon?
I am not. I don't have a Patreon. No.
Okay. All right, cool. Just checking.
And Scooter said he's taking care of Drew. He's watching his daughter right now. At a rehearsal or recital.
Well, he should pay attention to the recital.
That's funny. He isn't. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So basically, this icon is what appears on Patreon when you have something has happened on your Patreon, like someone's left you a comment. But it's also the only way you get told often that someone has left. Oh, Garrett agrees. Thank Garrett. Someone has stopped giving to you. So I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to click it. I don't want notifications. But it's also what happens when someone upgrades their pledge or gives to you. But understanding churn is important. Okay. I find it helps to reframe it. And this is why that dashboard I created is really helpful. And I don't know why Patreon won't show us this data. Nobody except maybe our siblings or family are going to give to us on Patreon forever. And I don't know if it's just me, but even there, my mom stopped. She's like giving for a long time. And then she just like turned it off one day. And I was, yeah. So everyone has a limit. They have a point in time where they're like, they might be with you a year. They might be with you 4 months, but they often, it might be because they just, something changed in their life. They got fired, or it might be because they're just like, yeah, no, that was good. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to give. So it can be hard sometimes because see these little red lines when you get a bunch of them and it's like a big spike of people leaving. But hey, Drew. But at the same time, we have to recognize that person who's leaving may have been with us for 2 years, right? So, but understanding churn is important, and being able to see churn helps that. So I don't know if I have the slide here to show you. I can jump if not. Let me see. Okay. So basically, Patreon won't tell you. I don't know why. What the average length of time someone. Oh, I do know why. They don't tell you what is the average retention. So up here in the upper left, this number is 14. So that's the average. That's 14 months, which I find insane. That's the average retention of active patrons. So on average, people are staying with me for 14 months, which is just, that makes it feel better when I see someone leave. I'm like, wow, they were probably with me for a year. I just don't look. Yeah. And then I'm charting, this blue line is charting the retention of lost patrons, right? Which is, I sort of, when I was building this chart, I was like, I wonder, what about the what about the people who have left? Are they staying longer, or are they leaving faster, right? How is churn happening in my business? And so the fact that this blue line is going up means even the people who are leaving are staying with me longer than they used to. Okay. And then understanding the average amount given. Okay. So that's this number in the lower down here, this $65. What is your average patron lifetime value? What is that average amount they're going to give over that lifetime? And then seeing that number move up means your business is healthier, right? Your pursuit, you're going to be able to live on it happier. Hey, DM. Yep, you're on the call with Scoots, Drew from Sleep With Me. I'm so excited as well. I love Sleep With Me. So here's the reason why Patreon doesn't show you the data. I was at Podcast Movement, and the people from Patreon were on the stage, and they basically admitted that the average time that someone gives on Patreon is 2 months across the whole system. And that floored me, but it makes sense because there's a lot of people who start a Patreon account and don't do anything with it, right? They don't do anything with it. So it makes sense. There's a lot of dead Patreon accounts out there, but it would be impossible to build it would be impossible for you to build a business. Well, near impossible for you to build a business where you could retire or quit your job from Patreon if you have a two month give. Your churn is 100%, or is that 50% every month? Yeah, 50% churn. So this idea of for example, the next thing Patreon said was that they want you to keep moving up. They said if you move from $1 to $2 and $2 to $5, each time you get people to move up a tier, they stay with you longer. And I was puzzled, and I asked them about that, and they said, well, that's what their data shows. And my data, and the data of everyone so far who has shown me their dashboard, like has used my dashboard and then agreed to share back to me what they're seeing, has shown the opposite. And I don't know if Scoot's here. He may contradict me. I don't remember Scoots, but most people see the opposite. If someone's giving 20 or 50, they tend to not stay as long, which makes sense, right? If I'm giving $2 a month, yeah, let it ride. So anyways, understanding that and how long can really help you, because if you can move that number, you can move quite up a bit in money. Hey, DM, no worries. I'm glad you joined us. Okay, this last slide, I think here. So basically, I love Bonjour. Hopefully everyone out there knows about it. If you become a patron, Mike got one. If you become a patron, we send you a video on Bonjour. It's free. You can do it for free. It connects it to Patreon. It lets you know, hey, you got a new patron, and you can just record a little video on your phone. It's just a nice touch base to people. Our Discord, we have a Patreon-only Discord. I love it. It's like the safest space on the internet. And then just being active everywhere you can. And then if you want a copy of this presentation, I keep clicking the wrong screen. You can find a copy of the older version of this under the resources. You'll find all my articles that I've been writing and sharing. You'll find all of our public data about our Patreon on there. That is the last slide, Mike. Mike. Brian Mike.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So fantastic. So much information. It's great. Nice work.
Thank you.
People can pepper with questions if they want. I had some for you. The end there, you were talking about Discord. I've never used Discord. What is it like a Slacky kind of thing?
Yeah.
How do you use it then?
It's like Slack. It came from basically the online gaming world. So it's free to use, and it takes a little bit of work to get used to, but it's basically just a chat like Slack where you can create rooms, and people come in with handles, and your fans can chat and talk with you. It's a great way to connect to fans, and as a marketer, it is a gold mine. Like, I will post questions just to get people talking that are so insightful. Like the other day, I was like, what? I'm trying to understand the zeitgeist of the younger, because I'm 50. I'm trying to understand the younger listeners. So I asked what online comics that they adore and read every week. And it was unbelievable. All these comics, just everyone started posting, and it was fascinating to get a glimpse into what resonates and what those, you know what I mean? So it can be a really interesting way to ask also, hey, how's everyone doing during this COVID? Is everyone okay? Because I was trying to decide, should we put our Patreon on hold, right? Is everyone getting fired? Like, it's a great way to have a touch base with your audience.
And everything is in the Fable and Folly. Like all your shows are in there. Like, do you
Yeah.
separate them by show
Oh,
then in there, or is it like? I mean,
uh,
that was one of my questions about
yes.
all of
No,
this.
it's a
It's like
good question.
Your Patreon account is all your shows, right? It's not
All but
like
one.
all
And
but
I'm
one.
wondering now if I should have done that. Uh, yeah. So
I
we
mean,
yeah, so we put Civilized in a new Patreon, and then it has its own Discord. That Discord is dead. It's not doing as well.
huh,
So there is like a critical mass required, right, for community. So I did decide to start a new Patreon for Civilized, but all my other shows are under the one Fable and Folly.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting because the Axe and I'm sorry, Axe and
Axe and Crown. Yeah.
Axe and Crown, and then the other one are that's like its own little world. So anyway, it's just it's interesting how you've done that. I think we should ask. So Blythe asked, "How is their support? Is that a Patreon, Blythe? Is that what you're asking?"
Um, Patreons, I'll answer that, but plus, Blythe is saying they sent questions as well to support pre-launch, but didn't hear back. So yeah, Patreon support's actually really good, phenomenal. They have a great support team, and they've actually, to their credit, they've really invested in the on-ramping. For a while there, Patreon was really only focused on big name creators. They've really improved that. So they're sending videos all the time now. They have a good on-ramp, and they have a great support team. Um, the They're just a little behind some of the other players, but I've yet to find another platform that allows you to really own the fan management. So I can download all the data from Patreon, everything, and I can get all the emails, the addresses of my fan. I like that I'm in control and I can manage that relationship. So I still use Patreon for
And,
that reason.
and did you the glow have you tried that, or is like what's the
So I know the folks at Glow, and I'm part of Potapalooza. Potapalooza, I guess I'll give them a plug. Potapalooza is
that
this
was going to
weekend.
be my question later
Oh,
on to
okay.
talk. No, you can go ahead, but I was going to
Yeah, yeah,
ask you about that and talk about it
yeah.
because it's coming up. I think it's a great thing that you're doing. But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
okay. So I think it's Give Others. I should know. I don't have all that. But basically, Pata Glow is helping put on Potapalooza to raise money for COVID relief.
Yeah.
And I've talked a number of times to the folks at Glow. And Glow has a really nice interface for someone was asking, I'm sorry I forgot your name, but someone was asking, do I have to have tiers? No. And if you're not going to have tiers, something like Glow, people give the $5 or $10, and then it instantly pops up and says, what's your podcast app? You hit it and it's installed. It's like you now have that exclusive private fee in that app, and the content starts downloading. And that's an experience that for some reason eludes Patreon to this day. They still haven't been able to deploy that. Yeah.
You see, Blythe says, "Good to know. Give another chance." It's funny answering questions here. Should I pop it up on the screen? I don't. It's really this is such a fun.
Oh, I see. You sent support to them, request to them.
Yeah.
They've actually gotten better, I would say, but yeah, I can't say for sure. I know yeah. They seem better. There's now another team. It used to be you only had support Blythe. Now there's a growth team, or they have some other name, who you can also reach out to that are like an account, but there's too many people for to have your own account manager. But there is another team now you can reach out to that are there to try and help you succeed.
Can you do both of them?
Yeah.
You could have a glow and
Oh, you could. You
just more
could.
work, I guess.
Yeah,
For
it
you.
would also be confusing.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing, right? It's like, how do you make it simple for people that want to give you money and support you?
Because some people have a whole page of all these different ways you can give them money, right?
Yeah, and psychology tells us that's gonna hinder people from giving to you, right? So, like, it's just gonna make it harder. Anything you do to make a choice, like the choice you want is, I want to support you, Mike, or I want to support you, Blythe. And as soon as you make me have to make any other choice, it could be as simple as I was once trying to give money to someone, but they made me choose T-shirt or CD, and I ended up not giving money because they wanted to send me something.
Right. Right.
And I was just like, I can't handle the choice because I want the T-shirt and the CD. And I ended up not giving money, which is maybe saying something bad about me. But yeah.
And you said for the physical thing was very interesting to me to hear. And so that was you said stickers, and what other kind of things have you sent? That was
Oh, we've done all kinds of things: coasters,
oh, we said
stickers.
that. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. The coasters, the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
Uh,
All kinds of stuff.
I once did a tiny little. So I once got we got this deal where we could do stickies. I love stickies because I'm an innovation guy. So I got these stickies that were printed with our name of our show, and it was some weird deal. But it came in this giant pack, so we had a whole evening of peeling off 10, and then sticking it in the envelope, peeling off 10, because you can't ship. Yeah.
And how many were you sending? Was that like a?
So generally, our packet we send about, I think, 40 to 50 packages when we do it.
Wow, great. And so, talk a little bit about the dynamic ads. When did you get involved with the
Oh,
Art19 and
love to
start
talk
doing
about
that?
that.
Yeah, when did you get started doing that? That's not part of this, though, is it? I'm sorry, that's not
Well, it's
Patreon.
okay. It's So we have been.
Like you could infuse the Patreon within that, though, right? I mean, that's your
Monetization is something that I've so focused on. I think, I believe my vision is a day when producers can make money from telling the stories they want to tell. And it's not easy, right? So, um, the reason I put up the business model is you shouldn't just do Patreon. But I don't know if you want to do Patreon and a Glow. I think you want to pick one crowdfunding source and maybe a secondary. I'll talk about that. Remind me, Mike, to talk about the one-time give. But set up that crowdfunding, and then you need to think about other sources of revenue. Like any business, you need to think, what else? Merch is an option, but you don't make a lot of money, and it's a pain. And the more you outsource it, the less you make. So for me, it was looking at, okay, it's time. I've got Patreon on a good growth curve now. We figured out the pain of putting out that much content for it. So now I'm like, I want to monetize. And basically, the way the ad world works right now is they will pay you a CPM, a cost per thousand, for your next episode you're going to drop on its 30-day number of that episode. So for a lot of people, their 30-day number, let's say your 30-day number is a good number. It's like, all right, I'll give you an example from me. I have a show where I can get around 8,000 right now on a 30-day number for one episode. So in 30 days, that episode will hit 8,000 listens. I could sell an ad, and let's just go crazy. Top number, $50 CPM. Like I do this ad, I put it in there, and it's going to stay there forever. That's what they want. And I'm going to make, oh God, math, 80 times 50, $400. Okay, so I'm going to make $400. I'm going to put all this work in, and I'm going to make $400 is great, but then I have to pay a commission on whatever. So I get less of that. But $400 a month, I can't pay rent on that. I can't stop my day job on that. And that's it. That's for most of us, there's no other ad being bought. So that's all we make. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. That's my 30-day number for that episode. But that same show does 40,000 downloads a month. And I was like, 40 times 50 times 40, that's $2,000 I'm leaving on the table.
Yeah.
I want to, and that's with one ad. Like, what if I sold two ads? Like that's $4,000 a month that I'm not selling because the industry hasn't figured out that that's valuable, or you know what I mean, that could be valuable to the brand. So the move to Art19 was, okay, I'm going to solve that. I'm going to try. Like, it's called selling back catalog, and that's a hard shift in the industry because most people haven't been able to figure it out. But I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try. And so Art19 is an ad injection engine, I guess, out of Oakland, and it allows me to also do things like you heard, the COVID promo to help people who've been impacted.
Yeah, that was great. And that's a nice little perk too, to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
You're telling everybody who's listening.
And I could have put out a promo for this thing. I could have sent it just to Oakland, right? Like, the cool thing is you can DMA target.
Yeah.
I can put in a thing to go, hey, everyone in the Bay Area, I'm speaking tomorrow night, and it only goes to those listeners wherever they are.
And so do they sell ads for you now? Like, do you, and then is there, they don't?
No, they're basically the host and platform. Okay. They have what's called Insertion. All of them have a last second, but it generally doesn't generate a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like if you haven't sold it, they'll try and sell it with their sales force, but
And then you don't know what you're getting too, right? So
you
it's
don't
some
know what's going to
underwear
air. Now,
thing that comes up
well,
into the.
this is why I went with Art19. They're the only one I found who will let you approve every brand on that
Oh.
last minute insertion. So it actually is really cool. They're the only ones I found that'll do that. So I have
Mm.
a list of they're like, and I was like, nope, nope, nope. Yeah.
I worked with Chris Smith. Do you know Chris Smith? He works for Knit. Well, actually, it's his company, Knit. You ever heard of Knit?
No.
Yeah, they do the same thing.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, another company that does that. But same thing. You have to agree to that kind of stuff.
Oh, good.
Um, when should you start doing a Patreon? I mean, like if somebody
Yeah.
I have my new podcast coming out, and so when should I start doing it?
I generally tell people when you're hitting 2 to 3,000 on the 30-day for an episode, you're ready to start making money on Patreon. Now, keep in mind that's a rule of thumb. If you have a really niche thing, you can start sooner. And more important than real niche, if you have a really strong community, like Mike, you do, you can start much sooner.
Hmm.
Right? Because you have a way of connecting to this community, right? And going, hey, everyone, I'm doing this thing. Can you help me spread the word or whatever? Like it's about reach. So if you have a strong community or have a very niche thing that people are like, oh, wow, we can share this, you can start smaller than that. But if you only have 200 to 500 downloads at a 30-day episode, it's just sometimes you start too early. It can feel like me. It felt horrible making $20 a month. I was just like, this feels awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do to these people. I'm not giving them anything, and then I feel bad. So yeah.
Yeah. What does DM says? Crazy. So many downloads. Definitely feels like you should be getting compensated somehow.
Thank you, DM. That's very sweet. We get a lot of compliments. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard, man. Like, this is hard, and that's the thing, right? Like, I think sometimes it's hard because I was told, "Oh, when you're big and have the numbers, it all works," and I've learned that's not true. It's you have to. It's the grind. It's figuring out where do I want to grind and where am I willing to like keep going back and getting punched in the face for it not working, right?
Right.
So, Pamela, I'm glad you're feeling more confident. Go for it. Don't worry if you fail. Just be like, keep going, keep grinding. And the cool thing is, this is the coolest thing about crowdfunding. The people that give to you on crowdfunding don't care if you mess up.
Yeah.
They want to give you money. They actually don't. So they don't care too much about what perk or if the perk doesn't come. Like if I post to my Discord right now, I'm like, hey everyone, really crazy week. We're gonna miss a Friday because we try to put something out every Friday. I get inundated with messages going, hey, take care of yourself, get some sleep. You know what I mean? Like it's cool.
That's nice.
But if I miss 3 or 4 of those in a row, I will see an impact, right? There's a tension there. But yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind is these people want to support you. They want to see you succeed, and what you're doing is important to them. And that was hard for me to hear. We tell fantasy stories. I'm like how is this helpful or important or valuable, right? It feels like, we have someone who's helping people find housing. I'm like, well, that seems noble. I'm just telling a story about a fairy. So but then we hear from people who are like, hey, I got through a really dark time because of the show. And I'm like, oh, it's just
And,
hard sometimes as a creator to be like, oh, okay.
and we said that earlier. It's like right now is the time. Like for
Yeah.
you guys, it's like it was wonderful for me to listen to that the other day when I was
Oh,
out.
thanks.
It was hard to hear over the chainsaw, but it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll work on our love for you.
So
Our love lines.
how should someone like set their expectations? And it's just like I guess it's like any business. You got to keep throwing stuff against the wall and see what works.
It's why I that strategy that I put in that one slide of the 6 steps or 5 steps, whatever it is. It's been a bit of time coming up with that, but it works. Start with one tier. Just start with one tier, and you can even launch your Patreon with one tier. Right? Just try it. Like I would say 2. Do the tier you want, and then put a higher one in there just to see what happens. I'll never forget, one of the angriest comments I ever got was someone complaining that I didn't have a higher dollar tier. They were like,
Wow.
I want to help you. Why isn't there a whatever tier? And I'm like, okay. One-time giving. One thing to consider is not everybody wants to give monthly. Makes sense, right? I hate those forms that come in like, give to us monthly. I'm like, no, I'll give you this amount of money. So, but I was like just pushing the Patreon, and I have this friend. She's a dear friend. She's a nurse, so like we're driving to her house and dropping off stuff. She's a very good friend right now, but she kept asking me, "How can I give to your show?" And I was like, "Well, there's a Patreon, but don't worry about it. I know you don't want to do that." And she'd be like, "No, no, well, how else can I give?" And I was like, "It's just the Patreon." And one day there's a knock at the door, and I went to the door and I opened it, and it was my friend, and she just yelled something. I still don't know what she said, and shoved an envelope in my hand and ran. Just ran for her car, and she just handed me cash. It was
Wow.
just an envelope of cash, um, and that's because she's a close friend. But I was making it very awkward for her to give to me, and I was like, oh, there's some people that just want a Ko-fi link. They just want to send you $50.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
can offer that second option.
And they had that too, like buy me a pizza or a coffee or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah.
In the past.
Oh, I always call it Ko-fi, and someone said to me recently, "It's coffee, stupid. It's buy him a coffee. But it's Kofi. I always call it Ko-fi, but I guess it's coffee. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, so Jen Briney, you know Jen Briney? She's part of our
yes,
group.
yeah.
She has that value for value
Mm.
pitch to her people, and has a million things on her way to give her money. Doug is asking a question here. Are there subject matters that do better than others? Politics versus sports versus food? Is there any measurement of different podcasts monetarily?
Well, there's certainly trends that are happening, right? I think, I mean, right now sports is in a bit of a hard space, but let's
Yeah.
just talk generally.
But people may be looking for sports now because they have
Yeah,
no sports to watch. So
yeah. I don't know the answer to that question. Mysterious Facebook user.
that's
Um,
Doug. I can see. I
oh,
have
hi, Doug.
Facebook. That's
Okay.
Doug. Yeah.
So, so yeah, Doug, what I recommend is that you actually go out. There might be trends. I'm not worried about that. What I would worry about is, do you have to create a space or a market, right? Because you don't want to have to do that. That's hard. So what I would do is say, let's say you had an area like sports, or pick any one of those. There are tons of people that publish. They figure out, even if they're hiding it, they figure out what the top Patreon people are making. Go to those lists and look who's up there. How many are up there from sports? As long as you have more than one, then I'd say there's an opportunity there. Like, and what you then do is you pick one of those and you give them $5 a month and say, what are they doing? How do they get to 10,000 a month? What is the magic here? But yeah, as far as like Patreon does have stats, but you can also reach out to the Patreon team. But I find often with the Patreon team, like the stats I talked about, they're across so many. Like Patreon is so big that they end up just becoming so watered down. They're not pertinent, because every stat they give me, I find the opposite now that I can map my data.
Have you looked at that Chapo whatever house podcast that makes $8 million?
Yeah.
And what are they doing? Have you?
I have
joined?
not given them money. I have not joined them. It
Yeah.
maddens me.
Yeah.
I'm both respectful and maddened.
Yeah. I listened to them and I thought, how are they making so much money? So I wondered if they have a whole.
What yeah, I don't know. I have not looked. It's funny. I have a friend who has a D&D live play. He just, a bunch of people get together, they play D&D, and I had been looking at that space, and I was like, there's a person who's making 50,000 a month, and all he's doing is charging $100 to play a D&D game with him, and then he blocks days of his. He now does not work. Now it feels a little. I don't know. It starts to feel like torture to me, but I like D&D. But he basically blocks them into groups of 5. So that's $500 a game, and he just puts them into nights and 2-hour slots and fills up his nights. And he's making 50,000 a month just playing nonstop D&D with all these people. But I told my friend, I was like, hey, and he was like, there's no way. And so he didn't even go 100. He put it up at 50. He's now making the most money he's ever made on Patreon, and they're playing 2 or 3 games a month. They're capped it. They don't want that many, but you can put a number up there like 50 or 100 and put something. That's why I said that real world experience. Even playing Jackbox, you can put that in a $20 tier. People will pay to play Jackbox with their hosts that they listen to, because audio is the most intimate format. we are in people's ears
Right.
in the spaces of their life they don't open up to the rest of the world. Like, it
Yeah.
is very intimate, and so when we have a chance to then hang out with those people, we feel like we know them.
Right. And that's like they pay these speakers to come in to do a keynote for $8 gazillion, and it's like,
Yes.
if it's whoever it is, it's the people will pay to hang out with you if they like you, basically. Did you see this? Pamela
Oh,
sent me this.
yes. Thank you, Pamela. And Pamela just asked, so I will show here. I'll put them up on the screen. This is if Mike approves it.
Okay.
There we go. This is Art19. I slur a little, so this is art19.com. They're I guess I didn't realize they're an Oakland-based company. I'm learned now. They are a lovely host. Keeping in mind they're more expensive. They're not as expensive as like Simplecast, I would say, in at least my negotiations, but they're more expensive than Libsyn or Podbean. My hosting costs have probably doubled, but the power of what I can do now is so much greater.
Do those other Simplecasts, they don't do this, do they? They don't do.
They are launching an audio insert now tool, and so I talked to them because their platform is gorgeous. It is beautiful.
Yeah. Oop. Where'd you go? He went away. Come back. They do have pretty stuff there. Oh, you're back.
There's two buttons. One says stop sharing, and the other says leave studio. And they're right next to each other, Mike.
I'm sorry. I'll talk to them about the.
No, it's okay. That's funny.
That's very funny.
So they are launching an ad insert tool, and it's a beautiful platform, but it's not out to everyone yet. And it's missing a few targeting features. So
I guess they're all going to have it eventually, huh?
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. My friend Chris Smith, who has the knit, he did that like a year ago. He has like CNN. It's just him and one other guy. They do fantastic. It's just two guys, and they have CNN, and they have.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I think people are catching up to what they're doing.
Yeah, well, like, it's so cool, and now artists and creators are using it in fun ways. Like, what was Welcome to Night Vale, right? Did that whole thing where different people heard a different finale in different parts of the United States.
Oh.
Right? So everyone heard a different ending to the series, and they just waited for everyone to realize, as they shared notes. There's a lot of fun things that I think we're going to be able to do as we start to get access to this technology.
Wow. That's very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, any more questions? I mean, I have all sorts of questions about your actual show, but like, who do you write it? You and Eli, or is it who?
Yeah.
Did Eli started writing these, or did you?
Yeah. So Eli is the main writer on Alba and Axe and Crown. On Axe and Crown, I'm probably close to 50-50 writing, but he's the main showrunner writer. I'm much more in a producer role. And then Civilized is completely improvised, but you won't know it. It sounds just like a TV show for your ears. It's dark comedy, and so I comedy improvise in that.
And you do, comedy improvisation. I guess neither one of us can speak.
No. Yeah.
That's great. Perfect for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's been a lot of fun. So that show we create on the fly. But yeah, Eli's the main writer. But we use all full casts for our show, which is challenging right now because we record in person, like in a studio. So we're adapting, and we're figuring it out. But yeah.
How is it working with your partner? I know my wife and I had a business together for about a year, and it was it just lasted a year, and I just wonder that's was in the back of my head, like, oh wow, how are they dealing with that? But
yeah,
you don't have to answer that question. It's kind of
I'll answer any question, Mike. It's funny, like okay, so first of all, for the longest time, I was not full time. Like Eli, we worked really hard from the Patreon and other things to get to the point where Eli could be full time, but I still, it's not enough money yet, so I still had a job. But then I got laid off recently, so because of COVID. So Canada is doing, like, they're paying $2,000 a month to anyone who is laid off. Has a business. So that's allowed me to be like, well, okay, let's see what we can do in this time to grow Fable and Folly. So that's why we're launching the network, and I'm moving into the ad sales.
Nice.
I don't know, but to answer your question, I'll say that the first 2 weeks of me sitting here full time, yeah, I was like, oh, I'm getting a little test. I could be a little more polite in how I'm communicating.
Yeah, it's when to turn off the business stuff that was always hard for us. It was like,
Yeah, that's hard for us.
Yeah.
Eli works till 4 a.m, and then I get up early. So we sort of meet in the middle, and it's like 2 shifts running. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Huh. All right. So also DJ here says, thank you for an informative show.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking that right away when I heard that. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know when I heard it, when I read it, that you guys are working together. That was hard for me, but a lot of couples can do that. So
yeah, we've done pretty well. And it helps that we're pretty delineated, right? That helps. But yeah, we have problems. We do have problems. And I'm always the jerk. He's never the jerk.
Yeah, that's the right thing to say. Perfect. Okay, that's what you have to say.
It is what I
think. Yeah,
but it's also true.
Pam, can't wait to listen to your shows.
Thank you.
And do you ever collab with people that have good fantasy story but not good writers?
I guess the short answer is no, not really. If you're asking, would we produce a show that someone else had the idea on? No, we are 2 people producing 4 shows, so it's been more just because we have no time to produce. That's awesome to hear, Blythe. 2006. Okay, I think hopefully your podcast, you need to put out a second podcast about how you do that.
Exactly.
And you have 2 listeners right here. We're going to sign up right away.
That's true.
But yeah, I think Pamela, we trying to create 4 shows as an indie with no money. It's just been insane. Plus all the content we create. But that said, when this, basically not Hollywood, what's the other one? New York Broadway writer reached out and pitched us this show. We were like, whoa, that's intense and funny, and it's edgy. So we are proceeding down that path now. So that'll be the first time we've ever worked with someone else's idea that they're writing.
Yeah, because you guys have quite a skill with this stuff, so it's something to think about. I mean, as you branch off. So I guess we should probably stop. Let you go to bed. What time is it there now?
11:20.
Oh my God, you should have been in bed hours ago.
Yeah, I'm an old man these days. Go to bed early, but this was worth it. Well, I'm not doing the yoga. That's the problem. If I was doing the yoga, I'd have so much energy right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much and I'd love to have you come back again.
Yeah, I would love that.
Oh wait, so one last question here. What could be overwhelming?
Oh, that's a good question, Ella Sanders. You mentioned that people can be overwhelmed by funding. No. Interestingly, that's a great question. One of the I wouldn't do like 7 tiers, but there's something about one thing that Patreon has seemed to have done right is how they've set up their give money. It's a single question that you answer, and then below it are all the things you can get if you change your number. And for some reason, it works. So I would recommend. I didn't really talk about it. I would recommend. If I were to start today, I would start probably with a $5 tier. If I was considering a lower tier, it would be a $2. So I would do a 2, 5, 10, and then a 25. And then that would be a great start, I think. And a 5, 10, 25 is an awesome start. And just remember, don't overpromise out the gate. I'm not saying don't overpromise. I'm saying out the gate, just put up something simple, 5, 10, 25. Oh, and thanks, Ann. Just put up something really simple for the 5, 10, 25 and just focus on the 5, right? And get the 5 working and keep adding to the 5 until you figure out what's really needed, and then leave it alone, and then go to your 10, and then leave your 25 as whatever until you get there. You'd be surprised. Some people might sign up for the 25 anyways. But it's a great question.
Okay. So, and then actually, I had another question that
Go for it.
how many people will support a podcast who listen to it?
I have a rule of thumb that I've been
Mhm.
using. I don't have great data because I'm on an N of 1 here on this, but I have tried to gauge it with some conversations. So Scoots and some others have allowed me to see their dashboard. The rule of thumb I'm using is 1 in 1,000, just as a rule of thumb. Things can change that based on connection, how much you're asking, how good the perks are. But yeah, that's why if your 30-day thing is you're at the 200 or 300 or 500 at 30 days, it can be really painful because you're fighting to get to that first full person. But if you have a couple thousand people, keeping in mind that when you launch, you get a boost because of family and friends. They will surprise you, right? So them plus a couple listeners is enough to start it, usually.
Very cool. Okay. Doesn't Patreon have a partner? People popping up.
Do they have a partnership? Yes and no. I'm not sure if it's a partnership, but yes. So there's a connector. I guess it is a partnership. Maybe. I don't know what to call it. Yes. So on Patreon, you can do a few things exclusive. You can set up a patron-only Discord, and you can also connect it to Reddit. I'm not sure how the Reddit works because I haven't done it. I have a Reddit, but it's not very active. I've never really figured it out. But yes, you can connect, but you can also connect Patreon to other things like there's some services that do live streaming, like competitive to this, but much more expensive than VideoYard, StreamYard. There's a bunch of apps that you can turn on that will allow you to send stuff just to patrons that are worth looking at if you want to do hangouts or streams. But at the same time, I don't recommend spending money. What you need is a way to communicate. And so if you find the way that works for you, whether it's Discord or email, I use a separate email program connected to my Patreon. But whatever you use, then I just make an announcement. I'm like, hey, who wants to hang out on Wednesday night? I like the Discord because I can get real-time feedback, right? Like people can they'll pop in and be like, me, and we'll pick a time. And then I'll post it in my other like Discord patron stuff, or I'll post it on Patreon. Hey, everyone that wants to join. And then I just do a free Zoom, right? I'm like 45 minutes, people just join. And what I've realized is I don't even have to buy Jackbox because almost everyone has a version of some kind. And they share their screen and we all play. Stuff like that you can do.
Very fun. Very fun. All right, Sean, thank you so much. I don't want to keep you all night, like I said.
You're welcome.
A little housekeeping here. Next week, we have Heather Osgood. Do you know Heather, Sean?
No, I don't think I do.
She's really very fantastic woman. I've met her at Podfest and Podcast Movement. She's going to talk about advertising, actually.
Nice.
She lives in Morro Bay, California. June 2nd, we have Joe Rogan coming in.
Ooh,
and then
big name.
on June 18th, we have Terry Gross.
Look at you.
No, it's not true. That's not. I haven't filled those spaces at all yet. I have to get some people in here. If Sean, if you have anybody you know who would be a good speaker, please forward them over. And also come to the Zoom calls. We're doing those once a month too, which we just get and chat about all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of fun. And that's it. So thanks so much, Sean.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you virtually.
Same.
Like
yeah,
we're meeting
thanks for the
lots of
invite.
That's funny. What? No way. Terry Gross from NPR. Yes. She is not going to be on the show. Well, I'll send her an email again, but she doesn't seem to answer them. So thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Pamela.
Oh, Pamela loves you. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, that was fantastic. Really appreciate it. So see y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Sean. See you later.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye.
I'm going to hit the wrong button again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.